the cloud.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we are going to talk a little bit about personalities, and we do a little personality quiz. There's lots of different assessment tools that we can use for personalities, but we really think that we like the one that we do. It's kind of short and sweet. And it's really one of the core, I'll say, objectives of Annie's project, because we know that communication, right, is very, very important. And it's kind of an icebreaker maybe to get things going. But we're going to talk about, you know, family communications, employee communications, gender, you know, intergenerational, right? So we've got people of all ages and ethnic backgrounds, and it's pretty interesting. And Shannon talked about, you know, how Annie's project actually works. And no matter, we've had people that are 18, and we've had ladies that are probably in their late 80s, and no matter what, everybody gathers like the same information. So it's been, and we've had mothers and daughters, we've had sisters, we've had all kinds of a lot of different people. So it's pretty fun. Really, when you look at personality and the study of personality, it goes way back to Plato in 340 BC, all, you know, all the way up to today. And some people probably, anybody done Myers-Briggs? That's a big one. There's a DISC. I've done the DISC assessment, personality IQ. This one's called Colors personality. And this is out of the where is this? The University of Arkansas. Yeah, the one that we'll use tonight. So you think everybody has that?
I just put it in the chat as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Yes.
So you ladies here have the personality. You think everybody is ready, or should we just kind of talk about this and go through it?
I think when you click on it, you're able to open it up.
See if everybody can open
It should
that
be
up.
here in the chat. I can
Okay.
pop it in there again.
Okay. If you can open that up, and then just take a look at the personality quiz. And what you can see is describe yourself. So in the boxes below, I said are groups of word clusters positioned horizontally in rows. Don't overthink it. Look at all the choices, A, B, C, D, and read the words and decide which of those words best describe you. And then we'll kind of go through and we'll score those. Here we go. So again, so look at and then kind of rank those. So look at in box 1, look at A, B, C, and D. Okay. So you look at those words. If you think those are most like you, active, optimistic, spontaneous, put a 1. And then go through and kind of rank those. So B, maybe, you know, parental, traditional, responsible. Is that a 2? Is that a 3? Is that a 4? So kind of rank each one of those as you go through those. And we'll let you take a little bit of time and read through those. Like I said, don't overthink it. Your first thought is always your best thought. Did you put the squishy in?
Yes.
Okay. Shannon's put
Yes,
the score
the whole, yeah, the
Okay.
whole.
Shannon put the whole thing in there. So there's a score sheet also, and then you can go and put those numbers, transfer those numbers from your quiz into your score sheet. And then you can add those up. What's that?
I did my
You
quiz
still have yours?
several years ago. I wonder if it would be any different now.
I know. I think mostly we'd have change, but maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
We might want to.
Less spontaneity.
Yeah. You may want to be other colors, but we may not really
It
be.
just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think I've ever been spontaneous.
No. Mhm.
Me either. My world is very planned.
Too calculated.
Mhm. I didn't know I was gonna put them to work already. Your lady's done? Okay. Is everybody out there, about done, got things added up? Figured out, where they are. So you may be asking us, why are we doing this? Really, just like I said, communication is so important, and when we work with our family, when we work, hey, how are you? We had another person come. Hey, Russell.
Perfect.
So why are we doing this? Working with our families, we need to learn what their strengths are and what their strengths are not. So we don't want a person probably doing the books that is really not a planner or, and we're gonna learn about these different types of personalities as we move through. So if everybody's got theirs added up, does anybody want to talk about what their highest number was? Because that will kind of indicate whether you're an orange, a gold, a blue, or a green, and we're gonna talk a little bit about these.
Well, I'm green.
You're a green? Okay. Lisa green.
I'm an orange.
You're an orange. Oh, very good. Excellent. Wanda,
Orange.
you're orange.
Orange.
Oh, we got some blonde ones in this class.
Probably, but orange is 16, but I'm blue 14.
Okay, so you're close.
Mhm.
I was 16 for orange and 15 for blue.
Okay.
Anybody else want to share online what numbers you got?
I'm an orange. I'm an orange,
Whoa, what is up with all these orange people?
but
That's
I can
great.
see me leaning over to the green too.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I'm tied for both gold and green.
Oh, you're, okay. All right. That's great. Okay, so let's talk, do we have any blues? You were close?
They were like-
You were close, okay.
Bluish.
Okay, yeah.
It was orange.
Bluish
Yeah.
orange.
Right. So you can see on the screen, blues are enthusiastic, they're sympathetic, they're very personal, right? They need to feel unique and authentic. They work, they want to see significance in their life. They're very compassionate. They need to contribute, to encourage, to care. You can see, I mean, it's a lot, it's very, so Wanda, is that you?
Yeah, that is.
That's
Mhm.
you, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. You value integrity, unity and relationships are very important. You're a romantic. There you go. Let me see. Um, and then here's some more, just a little more information about, blues. They have a strong, desire to influence others, right? They often work on arts, communication, education, leadership styles are very, expect others to express their views. So they're open to, communication. They're like family working together. Very important. They work to develop others' potential. I think that's, really important, part. What else? Encourage, others, to look at human, potential again. And you've got a copy of all these in all your presentations, so you can certainly go back and take a look at these. Is anybody a gold? I'm a gold,
I heard a couple quotes.
yeah. So golds, need to follow rules and respect authority, loyal, dependable, always prepared. Very punctual. My mother always told us if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. So I think some of that, comes along, very faithful, organized, concerned, caring, parent, helper. Value your home, family, tradition. I'm very, traditional, type person. Do we have any other goals? I know Shannon's
I
gold.
heard, yeah, and I heard a.
Do anybody else a gold out there?
I
who
am.
else?
Oh,
Kayla?
okay.
Mhm.
All right, very good. Do you
I'm
see
tied for
yourself?
gold and green.
Okay, do you see yourself in these as we talk about these?
Absolutely.
Okay, good, yeah. So, at work, provide stability and want to maintain organization, that's pretty important to me, I have to tell you. Your ability to handle, details and to work with others, the backbone of many organizations. Very important, leadership style, expects, punctuality, assumes, right way of doing things, seldom questions tradition, rule oriented. A lot of things there. Okay, and then okay, we have all these orange people, so let's see. I act on a moment's notice. You're very witty, you're very charming, you're very spontaneous. Consider, life a game. You're here and now, you're very impulsive, generous, very impactful. You need fun, you need a variety, you need to be stimulated, you like excitement, optimistic, eager, bold. Value skills, resourcefulness, and encourage physical, immediate, paternal, and then, also a natural troubleshooter, a performer and competitor. Would you say that is you?
No.
No? You don't think that's
The
you?
goal was more like me.
Yeah, I would think you would be a gold, actually.
Yeah.
No, yes. Is this like the golds? What do you think out there? I mean, the oranges, I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. As oranges, you get bored, you get restless with routine jobs, right? You don't like structure.
Not at all.
I
Yeah.
know, I asked her.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think I answered. this. I think I put like one I like the most is number one.
Yeah,
Instead of where I see now, it says give that a
Oh.
score. And then
Okay.
go backwards. I think,
okay.
Yeah, I
That's
think
fine.
my mom's a gold. She
You think your mom-
said all about her.
Okay. And then orange is their leadership, style. They're, quick in action. They work right here in the here and now, right? They're very flexible. They're always willing to change, whereas golds really don't want to change, And oranges really expect to have everything should be fun. Anything else on orange people out there?
He's given up even tallying. He's like, I'm an orange.
Definitely.
You're an orange, okay, all right. Okay, so anybody was a green? You're a green, Lee's a green, anybody else a
Was
green
it
out
Billy
there?
Joe? Green.
I think somebody else on there was.
I think, yeah, somebody else was a
Maybe.
green. So you seek knowledge and understanding, you're very analytical, global, conceptual. you like to live by your own standards, very cool, calm, collected. That's Lee. She's always pretty cool, calm, and collected, most of the time. But what you really wouldn't know it unless you knew her, right? You need explanation, you need answers, very logical, perfectionist. Yeah, Lee is definitely a perfectionist. Value intelligent insight, fairness, and justice. And just a really natural to conformist, a visionary problem solver, like, yeah. Very important. Who was, are you green, some green too? No,
I was like half and half, I think.
half and
Mhm.
half, yeah, so you'll see that some
All
things may
green,
be,
too.
yeah, may really be very, very close. And of course, their greens are very independent thinkers. They're drawn to constant challenges in careers. They like things, to change. Their leadership style, they expect intelligence, assume task. They seek ways to improve systems. And so that's why, as you think about the people you work with and the jobs they may have, who's that problem solver that can solve, whether it's a piece of equipment or,
Mhm.
whatever you're working on, very important. So with that, there's some other ones that we have done before. This is another one that kind of just shows. You still see, yeah, you can see that. This talks a little bit about the golds and the oranges, the green and the blue. So, activator, organizer, analyzer, peacemaker. So that kind of puts them, into those categories.
Which one is a peacemaker? Who's a peacemaker?
The blue.
Okay.
Yeah, the blue is the more the peacemaker. But you can kind of look at the jobs there, right?
Mhm.
So you see the gold person is the police officer may do some bookkeeping there, always, time. The orange or the no rules, maybe people that, may work outside, a lot of musicians, artists, right? And then you've got, the peacemakers, a lot of more, I would say, of the performing arts, maybe, to that side. And then the analyzer, more like the scientist that may, like to work by themselves and just, really deep thinkers. Really important. And then we have extroverts and introverts. So extroverts are the people that, they like to be outside, they like to be socializing. They thrive on, being social and being involved in a lot of other things. And then introverts they're very happy with themselves being introverts, but an introvert is a person you kind of see at a party and they stay in back to their self. And I always felt bad for those people. I'm like, why aren't they out talking to people? But they're really happy to be there just by themselves and not.
Wallflower.
Yeah.
It's exhausting talking to
Yeah, that's it, yeah. I like to talk to people. That was always hard for me, so that was like a aha moment for me, like, oh, these people staying off by themselves, they really are okay, they might be a wallflowers. But you can read more about that. So really, in summary, it helps us to learn all these different types of personalities and really how we interact with one another. It can really be very powerful, and it can really mean the success or not the success of your farm or your business. Because if you don't have people really in the right places doing the right things, if I am a person that doesn't like to do bookkeeping or paperwork, it's pretty tough. When you'd rather be, and most of us would be when we have farms, we would rather be outside working, but you've got to have that person that's really dedicated to the record keeping, to the bookkeeping, because that is the backbone that really makes makes your business successful. Let's see, does anybody have any other questions? We're going to talk a little bit about family communications. Are we good on time, Shannon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So when we first started this, we really just did the personality part, but then we decided we would take it a little bit deeper and talk a little bit about family communications, because most of farming is about working with our family, right? Most.
Generally, you live on the farm, you work on the farm.
Yeah.
It's all right
yeah,
there. Yes.
it's all intertwined. So it really starts with communication, and we all need to practice our listening skills. And I think that's one thing that I have always worked on is, we have a tendency to want to talk instead of listen. So we just need, and we're thinking about what we want to say, and we're not really listening to that person. So I think that's a skill probably most of us can really work on. And then when we are talking, are we sending the right message? So we really need to think about, and then we need to think about the person we're talking to also. There's lots of acronyms in our world. One Shannon was talking about FSA,
Mhm.
Farm Service Agency. So we're going to learn a lot about acronyms and how we can really have clearer messages and make sure that we're communicating with people, and then we're listening to the feedback also. Because, a lot of us think, well, golly day, do we, really want to do that? So let's have a little discussion of, in your family, is there any barriers of communication that you can think of that go on? Things you'd like to improve? Any thoughts? What do you think some of those might be?
Not so much miscommunication, but I guess miscommunication, but clarity in conversations.
Right. Because you know what you're saying, right?
Right,
But maybe the other person doesn't.
right.
Yeah, I agree. Agree. Anything else? Anybody?
For me, it's just, I'm from the north, he's from the south. So it's like learning a whole new language for me.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Hard to understand people.
Yes, they talk, they use acronyms. They're talking about, what they're planting, the harvest, the crops, the killing of the cattle. I don't have a clue what they're talking about. So I just want to educate myself and be more aware.
Right.
Mhm.
And we have to learn to ask questions, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we have to learn to stop and say, hey, I don't understand that. I don't understand the acronym. I don't, can you explain to me? So no question is ever, people say, oh, it's a dumb question. It's never a dumb question because somebody else is probably really thinking, that same thing. Very true.
I'm a backseat driver.
Okay.
It's, the property belongs to my sons, so I
Right.
just,
You're helping them along the way, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
from the backseat.
That's okay.
Well, and we see that a lot with families and intergenerational, multiple generations are maybe owning and operating farms.
Yeah.
And so there's different expectations and ways of communication.
There is, so. Yeah,
I
so
think
let's.
one other thing, just real quick,
Mhm.
is, making sure you communicate your goals with your family. For example, so I have very lofty goals. I want to do a lot of things. I want to have a big garden. I want to do all these things, and kind of making sure that your family is kind of on the same page, and making sure you're communicating that too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm a big goal setter also, Sabrina. But we have to convey those to the people that we work with, because if they don't know what our goals are, then how can we all work to the same? And I'll ask people when they call me, I'm like, okay, what are your goals? Also, I believe I asked you that when I talked to you. What are your goals? Because when I'm trying to help someone, like, I need to know where you want to go, and then how we can
Mhm.
get there. But we got to do the same thing with the people that, we work with. And there's lots of topics that are not easy to discuss, right? And so some of us may shy away from those topics. We're going to talk a little bit about succession plans, right? That's always
Mhm.
very hard to talk about too, because some people don't want to talk about it at all. But you got to figure out what's going to happen, to you as you move on. Generational differences too, personality. We just talked about personality. Difference, gender, difference, that really doesn't matter to me, because growing up, there was no difference whether you were a boy or a girl. I mean, you were just expected to work on a farm. I grew up on a farm of 5 kids, and we didn't know any different. We did what everybody else did. So it's kind of funny that, when you when you get out into the real world, you're like, oh, there's a difference.
That's because there are 4 girls and 1 boy in Jenny's family. They had to.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have a choice. Yeah, we didn't have a choice, but anyway. But some of those topics that are really not easy to discuss is money. So money is
Mhm.
always. So if you
You
have
feel
like a-
awkward.
yeah, it's, you feel awkward. So no matter what, the person keeping the books has got to discuss with everybody else what's going on, because if they don't understand whether you have money, you don't have money, you have a budget, you've got to really talk about that, because that can really make or break a farm. And then management, who's going to be in different management roles, you know, and how you're going to work with other. We have some great farm. I think of one in Talbot County. There's 3 brothers. One just passed away, but their dad and mom started it, and she was the first person in Talbot County, not government, but I don't know. Anyway, when women were not involved in things, she
Mhm.
was, but had 3 sons, and they knew what their strengths were, and they all worked in different parts of the farm aspect, and they've been very successful over the years, and that's very hard to do. And there's always going to be disappointments, you know, along the way, and then new ideas. How open are you, you know, for new ideas on the farm? Some may want to be, you know, more traditional thinkers, and then others, you know, want to move ahead. And then, like you said, goals, you know, setting goals are very important. And then risk. This whole class is about risk. So we're going to talk about all the different risks. And I think you'll learn a lot about what your toleration, your kind of your level of risk will be. Some of us will take a lot of risk, and others are like, oh, I don't know if I want to step out, you know. You might want to be on the edge, but maybe not on the bleeding edge, right, of risk or
Mhm.
of the things, you know, that you want to do. And a lot of it all goes back to money, unfortunately, but that's kind of the way things are. So there's a lot of different styles of communication. We're going to talk a little bit about assertive, aggressive, and passive aggressive. I'm not going to read all this to you, but really, when you talk about assertive, it's really the most effective and healthiest type of communication. When you're being very clear, you're working hard to have some kind of mutual solution, but really at the end, surprising enough, this is the style that people use the least.
Mhm.
And then aggressive. So we probably all know what aggressive, you know, communication that is. We see a lot of that in sports, or people really attacking other people and making people feel not very good. I don't like this kind of communication. I don't think most of us do. But other than it does work in some places. But then most of us are in this passive aggressive, right? So we're really trying to avoid confrontation. We really we don't want to do too much manipulation, but maybe they're putting a little bit in there to make people feel, you know, a little bit guilty. But in the end, you kind of got to figure out, you know, what communication, you know, really works. I'm sure we've all been in those different situations where we've had somebody that's been really aggressive. Okay, let's talk about salesmen. Maybe sometimes salesmen can be really aggressive, right? And they really want you to buy something. But, you know, in the end, you know, what you can afford and what you really need. And sometimes that's one thing in farming and business, we need to figure out. We always have a wish list of things that we need, but what are the things that I need for today? And, you know, as we communicate, I think it's really important to think about those type of communication and how we really work together. All different types of, you know, communication. Certainly we're doing oral communication, written, emails, social media today, texting, all kinds of different, communication. The nonverbal, is very important, especially when you're working with your family. Like, I don't have to say anything to my sons because they can look at me a lot of times and tell me the expression on my face, like, oh, mom's getting upset. Maybe, you know, our body language, you know, tells a lot of things. If we're, you know, I learned this, you know, if you're at an interview and you're sitting up and you're really engaged, you know, that person knows, but, you know, when you sit back, it's more of a comfort, right? More of a comfort. Level. So our body language really does tell a lot of things, I think, about the way that we communicate. And then again, of all these different ways of communication, and I probably have not, every year I feel like I'm always adding
I know.
something on here that I have missed. But just, I mean, so many different ways of communicating. So we need to make, we had to figure out, and maybe with our clientele, I talk a lot with farmers, and they're leasing land, from other landowners, and I'm like, you really need to talk, like, how do they want to communicate with you? Do they want you to call them? Do they want you to send them a text? I think it's really important, because some people don't want to text. They want you to pick up the phone, or some of them like, don't call me, send me an email, send me a message on, Messenger or what it is. So I think it's really important that we figure out how we communicate with whoever it is that we're really working with. And then we need to figure out, what are some of those communication problems? Like someone said, language, right? People say, I have a accent. I'm like, I don't have an accent. You have an accent. But, and it's also that not only the dialects, but just, all the acronyms and,
Lingo.
right,
Yeah.
that we use. Very, important. And then also, interruptions, physical distractions. If you're, we encourage families to have meetings and remove all the, the dogs, the kids, whatever it is, that's really, so you can really have an important meeting. I think that really helps to move your forward. I liked kind of this diagram that talks about, all the different communication channels. You can see, you've got noise in the background, you've got this receiver and the senders, but then all the messages, and then what are the effects really of the communication, and then, listening to feedback. But I think that kind of puts it all into a nice way to think about it. And then we've got all these different generations, right? that we have to work with, and we have to figure out. It's kind of funny that sometimes I think some of the generations are kind of coming around maybe to maybe some of the baby boomers, and I think, well, maybe not. I see my sons are millennials, but then sometimes I think, well, maybe they don't really, because they think, oh, millennials think this way, and but that could be a whole nother course really on all the different generations. But you can do some more research and kind of look and see what they want. I will say, I think, certainly social media communication is very different for the newer generations than, the baby boomers. But, some of them have come, certainly come around, that's for sure. And probably can do more on their cell phone than I can.
Oh, you sort of didn't have a choice.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
that's right. You either, yeah, I know. You're right.
it was out of your hands.
Yeah, that's right. You either get with it, right, or you're not with it at all. That's for sure. So we've talked about, communication style, our style of listening, how individuals, deal with barriers, being part of a team, but also it's important to be an individual, right? Because everybody's bringing something really to their to all the different things that they do. This was just, so think about this as we work in our families, in our business. Dad has breakfast, right, with the family, so that's family. Then he drives to work, that's business. And then he drives, he plays a game of softball after work, so that's personal, right? But then there's certainly other things that can happen along the way. Here's another one, Dad has breakfast with family, takes 2 phone calls, so he's doing family and business, right, all the same time. We do that all the time. He meets a neighbor, a landlord, hunting friend at breakfast. So he's doing some personal work and he's doing business work at the same time. At the noon meal with his 70-year-old parents, who happen to be the landlords, right? So the family again and business working together. teach his daughter how to operate a combine, right? You're teaching your daughter how things of the business, but it's, also family. Attends 4-H meeting with son in the evening as an advisor of a small engine project. So he's working with family, doing personal and business. So these are kind of the, all the things that intertwine for us, which can make things very hard on a farm also. And no secrecy in a family, because it doesn't matter if you think you're keeping a secret, you're not keeping a secret. So if there's something going on, you really need to let everyone know. 'Cause it's nothing worse than being in a family business and then you really don't understand what's going on. And then that just brings animosity and can just throw a wrench into everything. So really, what are the things we need to think about? What are the things that we can do to improve our family business communication? And that's kind of what this is, it's really all about. Do you want me to stop there, Shannon? We've got some more, but I think in a matter of time. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah,
or-
if you want to skip, I don't know if you want to skip through if there's any like
Okay, we'll
action
skip
or
through.
next.
Yeah, so this is just a little bit of talking
Just
about,
next to-
yeah,
Mhm.
improving family communication. We talked a little bit about that. We talked about the personality quiz, right? So we want to, when we go back to our operations, we want to think about, or as we move forward, think about where we place people and the things that they're going to be and they're going to do. Participate in family meetings, take time. Does the next generation know your wants and desires? We talked about that about goals. What are the assets that, everybody brings a different asset. We'll talk about too, about all farm heirs. Do they understand the farm language of today? Which we heard a little bit from. Transitioning planning comes, with their own set of terms as everyone understand what's being said as you work in transition planning if you're in that part. I think we'll skip a little bit over it. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. We talked about holding business meetings with the family is very important. You need to manage your farm, whether it's a monthly meeting, whether it's twice a year, it just depends kind of on what your family operation is. I know the one family I was talking about, they meet every day at lunchtime. They get together every day at lunchtime and they know that they're going to have a meeting and no one else, they kind of shut their doors and no one else is allowed in. And the people that deal with them have grown to know that over the years, but that is their time. They come together, they make decisions, they vote. If there's, I think they have some children that are in it now, so there's probably five or six of them now. And if they're talking about, something new or some management, they'll actually vote, just like you would in a business meeting, and majority wins and then they move forward and that's that. I think that's been I think that's a key to success as you, and you have to manage your farm for today and tomorrow. And I think that's one of the hardest things too. Right, you got to take care of what's going on today, but then you want to be successful in the future. Let's see. Oh, and then also when you're holding a meeting, you want it at a neutral place, right? So it may not be at mom and dad's house. It may be you go out somewhere else, somewhere off the farm, and have an agenda. Distribute the agenda in advance, or everybody knows, and then I know others people will put a time, right? So they keep the meeting so it doesn't go on forever, and they can keep those family business meetings moving. Avoid socializing during that time. You have someone that records, right? So you know exactly what happened during your family meetings. Take action if there's things left over from last meeting, and evaluate the effectiveness of your meetings whenever you are meeting. Because like everything, you always want to try to make it better. Outside facilitators too, you can always have someone come in from outside if you're having challenges, or if you want someone to look at and say, excuse me, what are the things that really that we can do better? And we really want to keep conversation things flowing in a positive direction. General communication tips. Small agreements, right? Questions, or, should always ask questions, express appreciation. A thank you goes a long way. I feel like, just appreciating people, I don't care what it is or what you're doing, a thank you or a smile, goes a long way. I was interviewing someone not too long ago, and, she came up to me afterwards. She said, "I appreciate your smile." She said, "It just made me really feel better." I'm like, "Oh, I never thought about that before." Um, uh, and really think about, the statements that you make, I think are very powerful, when you're working with, certainly with others.
Question.
Question. What do we got? A question? Go ahead.
I have a question in reference to the small agreements. Are these written agreements or just agreements, I guess, that everyone has agreed on?
So it may depend on what you're working on. So it could be just small agreements, or so I'll tell you what I do in my business. So in my farming operation, my oldest son leases one of my farm, and we have a written agreement. So we have a written agreement. He knows what he has to pay me. He knows what he has to do. He knows outlined in that lease agreement is everything that he needs to do. So I know, and he knows, so we will have no family squabbles between them. My youngest son leases my poultry operation, and we have another agreement with that, because I've just seen too many families have these verbal agreements, and then something happens, and then families fall apart. So I think the more things that you can have in writing is better. And that's one thing that Shannon and I have worked, Lee, with Extension. We have a lot of resources online. There is a cash grain lease. There is all kinds of, we have a poultry lease. There's all kinds of different leases. And we have a legal extension specialist also that works. Is Paul talking? Yeah.
Megan is.
Oh, Megan is.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think Megan
Yeah.
is speaking.
Right, so we have an extension legal specialist that helps us a lot. And he's certainly, there for you to reach out to and talk with. There's certain things he can or she can and can't do. But just really important, or as far and other things, I would say just, in writing, if you've got things written down so people can go back and say, oh, okay, on this date, we agreed we were gonna purchase this tractor. Somebody, anybody have any other thoughts or anything different that you might offer? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Question.
Who else?
No, it was a good question.
Oh, yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
it was
good question. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think on this slide, admit when you make mistakes. I think that's always hard for us maybe sometime to do, but in farming, you're gonna make mistakes, and things are always not gonna go your way or go the way you think. I mean, we have Mother Nature, we have lots of things when we're dealing with all types of agriculture. I would say and also being cheerful, right, is always helpful. Even maybe sometimes when you don't feel like being cheerful, try not to be moody. But sometimes it's hard with working with family members, that's for sure. Ask about others, how they feel or how they think. Ask their opinion. Okay, here's my opinion on how do you feel? What would you do in that situation? Help each other, right? Open conversation, different viewpoints. Don't make assumptions. I think that's a lot of times we make assumptions. We stereotype people. And thinking, well, this is the way, this is the way Michelle would want it, or maybe that's not the way she wants it. Rephrase to make sure you understand, because I'll ask people now, help me understand what you just said. If you have any reservations, you need to voice them then, because later it really may be too late to do that. So some cautions, some problems are bigger, right, and maybe require some more open communication, and just are important because you don't want things to fester, and that just kind of make things get even worse. Go over past things that may have happened. I think that's always important. nobody can get everything that they want, right? It's always, and families, must often overcome, history of failed meetings. Those things happen, right? Even though we don't want them to. So good news, every one of us can become a good, better communicator, and I really think that it starts with listening. Every family business can learn, we can learn from each other. We can do all the studying in the world, but until you actually live it, then you really understand how it works. Work hard, have an open mind and really earn those big rewards, because it's pretty satisfying, when you have your own business and you're gonna fail. I mean, I've failed before, that's for sure, but you just get back up and you keep moving forward. You learn from your mistakes, but I think the most important thing is really that you move forward as you go on. I think we are just about,
Some ticket.
are we good?
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
If we want to see if we want to take a short break,
Yeah.
a little stretch. If anybody has any questions or feedback about communicating as you're either currently working in a business or farm business.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody have anything they want to share? Let's stop sharing so we can see everybody. There we go. Now we can see everybody.
I think that someone touched on it earlier, but really reiterate the importance of making sure that if you're in a family business and you're working with family, you all have the same goals and want the same outcomes.
Right.
And because if you don't, it's always gonna fail, like there's gonna be some kind of hitch in there. And be very clear about